So Vic's finishing finals, so I'm honored and excited to accept this award on behalf of my brother. I'd like to thank everyone and anyone that helped Vic along in his amazing journey, to all the clubs, coaches, fans, wrestlers, family, everyone that was supportive for him. I've said to a lot of people, and I truly believe that Vic's story is one of the best stories out right now, and I'm excited to be able to tell you about it. Growing up in our family was tough for Vic. We're a wrestling family. Our uncles, father, pretty much everyone in our family wrestled. It's been in our blood. And Vic, to be quite honest, wasn't the best athlete. He was kind of the black sheep in our family where, you wouldn't really want to pick him up for a pickup game, and he was always the last one picked. And it was just kind of who Vic was, at least for his childhood. Vic, still being in our family, kind of had to wrestle. And, we traveled all over the place, and I credit my parents for taking us everywhere, New Jersey, New York. Wherever there was a tough tournament, they'd drive us down. And a lot of times, they'd drive Vic down for maybe a minute on the match, both matches combined. He'd be happy, he'd run over to the concession stand, grab himself a donut, and he'd be good to go. But over time, those 0-2s turned into 1-2s, 2-2s, and he started gaining ground. And as he started gaining ground, you kind of saw something turn in him. And I think a big turning point, and something I take a lot of pride in, is when I won my state championship. And everyone kind of has that one match, it's a turning point. I walked off the mat and I saw him in tears, and at this point, I remember with my family, we weren't even sure if he was even going to wrestle. He was talking about playing basketball or lacrosse or something. He was unsure about things. And after that, that was his 8th grade year. He went into his freshman year like a different man. He started changing everything. Little by little, he got a lot better. His diet changed. He'd be the first one to tell you no cheat meals. He's a very strong believer in every little thing counts. And then his lifting started changing as well. He was 135 pounds as a freshman. A tribute to my father, taking us to the gym pretty much after every single practice, and every Wednesday night duel we'd be at the YMCA with him, and he'd be putting us through a lift. And by his senior year, he went from 135 to 189 pounds. His practice mentality changed. Vic didn't want to just be a good wrestler and win out on the mat. He wanted to win everything that he could possible. Every sprint that he had with a teammate, pretty much everything that was competition, Vic had to win. And every day he made it a goal to get better. Usually for guys that are at that top Division I level, and you hear guys like Vic that take 3rd in the country, you usually see their background as being a 4-time state champ and had 2 losses in high school. And Vic's a great story because he wasn't that kid. He was a 1-time New England champ, and he actually only won Division III states once. But he kept pushing, kept improving, and it was amazing to see the strides he took his senior year. Entering college was when he was entering college was when I was ending my career at Indiana after 5 years there. And to be quite honest, I never thought that, I've always loved my brother. He's always been one of my best friends, but I didn't think I was going to be so crazily invested in how well he would do until I started to see him out there and him competing. And then, night after night, and to be honest, I attribute him into why I got coaching, because his freshman year, night after night, I find myself watching 184-pounders all over the country, trying to just study up on guys and get any little edge, just hoping that one day he'd call me and say, hey, you know what this kid does? And I'd be there to help him out. I remember last season, not this past season, but the one before that, when he was injured a lot that year. He was unseeded entering the tournament, and he drew Lofthouse, which was a two-time All-American from Iowa. They're always in the national title hunt. And I was talking to some of the other club coaches I work with, and I'm pretty proud of this moment when I called his Loft House win early, and I said, he's going to beat this kid. And, you know, all the guys I work with were trying to be supportive, but I knew when I walked away, they were calling me crazy. And it was a very cool moment. And I think that's when, for him, it turned the corner and said, I can compete with anyone and beat anyone. This year was an amazing year, but he had a lot of bumps and obstacles along the year. I remember when the seeding came out, I was watching the selection show, and when I saw Vic's bracket, I instantly called my mother, and I was very hyped up in a negative way, I guess, because I didn't like the matchup. I didn't like him having Dekow, who was a returning All-American, who I thought, in my mind, was a 2 seed, and Vic's got the one kid that put it to him this year, where Dekow beat him 8-1, and this is the one kid in my mind that I thought was a bad matchup, and it got me nervous. But then right after, I called Vic and kind of wanted to feel him out, and the confidence in him changed my mindset completely. He was excited, he was ready to compete, and something I saw in him, which I saw senior year in high school, which was he didn't have anything else in mind but gold. He didn't care what was beside his name. He didn't care that he was a 13 seed. He didn't care what people were saying. In his mind, he was going to win it. After that Dekow match, probably was one of my family's and myself's special moment, because it was that hump that Vic needed to get over to All-American. And I remember right after that match, he pointed at me, and I ran up the stairs in tears and embraced my family, who, my father, my mother, all of us were in a big family hug, and it was a moment that none of us will ever forget. Although he lost a heartbreaker in the semis, he captured a lot of people's attention, showing people it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter if you were a 4-time state champ, it doesn't matter what's beside your name, that you can win, and you need to have self-belief in yourself before that can happen. And when you do that, you can accomplish anything. I know if Vic was here, there'd be 5 points in closing that I know he would want to relay out to young wrestlers everywhere, and to be honest, anyone. And first is believe. Elevate your goals. If your goal is a state champ, if your goal is a New England champ, elevate it. Say you want to be a national champ. If your goal is to be an All-American, it's to be a national champ. 2, be a good role model. When I was out at Nationals, it was amazing to see the impact he had on his other teammates. Dave Habit, which was a national finalist, and Mitchell Port, both spent time talking to me that entire weekend, saying how much of an impact Vic had on them this year, and really helped them get their heads on right. And you know, I know that sometimes you don't think that your teammates or other people are watching, but you want to lead with a good example. 3, be grateful of your family and supporters around you. I know personally, and I know he feels it very strongly in the same way, that without my mother and father and brother, that we couldn't be where we were today. And we love you very much for that. 4, every practice, every meal, every lift, make it count. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing around you. You focus on you and go out and get what you want. Every practice, try to get better. Every single lift as hard as you can. Every meal, put down anything that you think is just going to be a one-time. It's a burger here, it's there, it's no big deal. They all catch up, it all matters, especially when it's a double overtime match, just like you guys saw in his favor sometimes and against him. It all leads up to something. And lastly, heart. Everyone knows in this room how much you need to be a good wrestler. When it comes down to overtime and those last second matches, it's the reason why it's the sport that I love and my family loves and Vic loves so much. It's probably the only sport in the world that when it comes down and you're that close with your competitor, it's who wants it more, who will go out and get it, who has the bigger heart. So I thank you, and I know Vic thanks everyone for recognizing him, and I have full confidence that Vic will be bringing home a national title in 2016. Go Massachusetts Wrestling.